Morning. Nice to see you. Um, I'm back in Indiana, in the blue room. I missed my blue room. Um, Strange things to become attached to. The chair I meditate in my blue room. But it is what it is. Anyway, happy to be here this morning. Um, Greetings to my friends I can see on Zoom, the friends I cannot see on Facebook, on YouTube. Happy to be with you. Today, I thought I would offer some thoughts on thoughts. Because the most frequent questions I get as a teacher are about thinking and what to do about it and how to handle it. And in terms of meditation as a process, I think the thing that people are the most hard on themselves about is their relationship to their thinking, because they think it should be something different than what it is. So we're not training the mind not to think. We're teaching ourselves how to relate to it. So I'm going to get into that. But first, why don't we meditate? So I invite you to find a comfortable meditation posture. However that works for you. When we come into our meditation posture, we're signaling ourselves that we are entering something else other than our regular walking aroundness. It's a posture in which we are relaxed but alert, comfortable, and just let yourself settle into your body. If you lower your gaze, so it's kind of like you're looking down the bridge of your nose, that actually relaxes the muscles around your eyes. And gently close your eyes. And let's take a few slow, deep, intentional breaths into the belly. Just to help us get settled in. And on the out breath, just relax into your body. A couple more slow, deep breaths. And on the out breath, just relax your thinking mind, the thinking muscle. Let it settle. Sometimes at the beginning of meditation, as I breathe out a few times, I say to myself, settle. letting the mind settle the way sediment settles at the bottom of a pond as it gets more and more still. And letting our breathing return to normal. But continuing to notice the sensations of breathing. Not trying to do anything or be anything or control anything. Just noticing the body breathing itself. And on the out-breath, continuing to relax and to soften. There's nothing to be tense about. There's nothing to hold on to. It's letting your body relax. Letting your belly relax. Just the simplicity of sitting in the moment, breathing in and out. Now let your attention rest and focus on the sensations of the body breathing. Some people do this by focusing on the physical sensations of the air moving in and out of the nose. Some people focus on the sensations of the chest or the belly moving up and down. Whatever works for you. Just letting your attention and your awareness focus on the body breathing. thoughts will come. It's okay. Greet them happily. Let them come. Let them go. If you can, notice how they start. If you can't, that's okay. Just noticing thoughts and thinking as a process that changes, comes, goes, without getting involved in the content or going down the road with it. And noticing the space between thoughts, even just for a second or two. What that feels like. And as we come towards the end of this sitting, I invite you to notice the state of your mind and body in this moment. Just the simplicity of the way you are right now. And may it be that whatever calmness or centeredness you may have gotten from this sitting remain with you in some form today. Make it easier for you to come back into your body, into the present moment, when you're lost in thought or confused in some situation or talking to someone. And may it be that the benefits of this meditation enable us to look out into the world through the eyes of kindness and compassion, and enable us to radiate that kindness and compassion out into our homes, into our neighborhoods, into our towns. May the energy of this practice radiate from us out into the world at large. May the benefits of this practice be of benefit to all beings everywhere. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings be well. May all beings be at ease and at peace. Thank you for your practice. Nice to see y'all again. Missed you for a couple of weeks. Want to thank Wendy Heckert for filling in for me while I was on the road and at home getting reoriented. Not going anywhere for a while. But I appreciate her coming and showing up and teaching about self-compassion. Those sessions are available on in the Facebook group, the Insight Meditation group, and on my YouTube channel if anybody wants to view them. So, I was meditating, I was thinking, then I wasn't, then I was. Then I had a moment of, really? Then I noticed that. I noticed that as an edge for me, because I still go to that, really? And that's okay, I'm not judging that, I'm just noticing that I still do that. I've been meditating for 30 years, not continuously. Um, and the process of wandering off in thought and coming back, and wandering off and coming back, has not changed. Nor do I any longer expect it to. The things that have changed, I'm just more relaxed and more centered and more calm and more focused, more easily to go to compassion and kindness, um, more easily to more quickly recognize when my thoughts are taking me off into some sort of spin. Cool cat, John. The first Zen teacher I ever saw said, "Be like cat. Cat no say, who am I? Cat just say, meow." He talked about the cat mind all the time. That was Sun Sanim. You can read his teachings in a book called Dropping Ashes on the Buddha. My thoughts wander around all the time. And in the practice of meditation, we begin again. We notice that we're thinking. We notice that we've wandered off. When we notice that, that might be right away, or some period of time might go by, or, we may have completely finished the reconstruction of Notre Dame Cathedral in our minds before we notice that we're off somewhere, and we come back. It's all good. Because the begin again moment is the moment of meditation. It's all meditation. There are no interruptions. If you notice you've been thinking, it's not that you haven't been meditating, it's just what your mind is doing. At the moment you notice that, that's when you're in the present moment. That's the meat of it. The process of begin again, begin again, begin again, begin again, begin again is the process of meditation. So, we have these thoughts. They come, they go. I was recently reminded of a poem I wrote that somebody asked me for, where there's a poem about thoughts called Mind Pops, and the last stanza says, "It's not as if this train is going somewhere any more than the rain is going somewhere. They just come and go." And I'm not talking about the content, because that doesn't really matter very much. I'm talking about the process itself. The content of the individual thoughts, if you look at it, that shifts all the time. One moment I'm thinking about, I really need to clean off the top of this desk. You guys can't see that you're sitting in the middle of a debris field, but I can see it. Another moment I'm thinking, yeah, I hope this talk is good. Another moment I'm thinking, yeah, I gotta get out of the store, it's Easter. It's like, it just shifts all the time. It never stays anywhere. And if you really look at it and pay attention to it, one of the things you'll discover, it's not even interesting. It has no new information. It's just like rehashing old stuff based on what happened yesterday or 10 years ago, what I had for breakfast this morning. I worked in pop radio in the 70s. Sometimes I actually hear Leo Sayer. It's a curse. Right? They used to pay me to play the Captain and Tennille at 3 o'clock in the morning. Every now and then that comes into my head. I'm like, oh my God, they really hurt me. This is mishmash of stuff, right? But it's the process. And there are spaces between the thoughts, and we tend to compulsively fill them in with more thought. And we tend to compulsively fill them in with more thought about the content of the last thought that appeared, right? Um, Somewhere in the course of my meditation, something about this talk came to me, and my mind went to all the things I would say about that. None of which I've said so far, by the way. It's just the train going nowhere like the rain goes nowhere. And there are two kinds of thoughts when you look at it. There are thoughts that pop up unannounced, uninvited, for no discernible reason. I suddenly remember a time I was working in a radio station in the 70s, and someone came in, did a concert on air, and played Over the Rainbow on guitar. It was just stunningly beautiful. I don't know why my mind went there in 2022. It just did. They come, they go, they're not invited, they don't follow any reason. We can't do anything about that. We can't do anything about them at all, nor should we even try. They just come and go and change all the time, and it's basically a mishmash of previous thought experiences left over from old neural pathways from other thoughts. We observe that. We bow to it. We don't worry about it. The brain just does that. The other kind of thought is when we grab onto one of these energy streams and start playing with it, right? We're digging into it, we're rolling it around. Gee, I really miss Tina Ross, and I hope she's still playing guitar. And I saw her on Facebook recently, and all of that, I hope we would still be friends if we ever connected again. And oh my God, I have to go for Easter dinner today, and the family, and my niece died, and I wonder what that's going to be like. And I start going down the road with all that. That's the second kind of thought. That's the one we can actually stop. The spontaneous arising that just comes and goes. But when we notice we're going down the road with it, or diving into it, we can say, begin again with the breathing. You're walking down the street, you're driving down the road and somebody cuts you off on the highway, and you're like, eeh! And then the thought stream starts going to all the other times that happened. Like, you want to pull up and like roll down the window and yell at that guy. I know people have done that sort of thing. We don't do that here in the South because people carry guns. In California, people do that because they're not worried about being shot doing it. But all those thoughts, I can stop that at any time and return to the steering wheel. I can stop the rumination piece of it, and so can you, at any time, and return to the steering wheel, which is the breath, and being aware of your body and the simplicity of this moment. That's the kind we can learn to control. And the first thing that needs to happen is we need to notice it. And we're practicing that. There's a reason why they call it practicing meditation, Dharma practice, like practicing the piano, like practicing the guitar. Eric Clapton has been known to practice 8 to 12 hours a day. And he's Eric Clapton. They asked Pablo Casals why he practiced all day, every day. He said, I might be getting it. And when you start to notice the rumination piece and come back to mindfulness of breathing, because that's the steering wheel that we're holding on to the degree we're holding on to anything, we can start to notice that there are gaps between the thoughts. What's it like to notice that? What's it like to live in that gap? Even if it's only for a couple of seconds. Because then another thing will pop up and, it's like living in a popcorn popper. But there are spaces between the thoughts when we come into the moment and we notice that we're ruminating and going down the road with the second type of thinking, of that kind of energy, and we stop, and there's a little piece of silence in there. Now, then, because the mind likes to cling to things, we'll try to cling to that, and then it'll fade away, and then we begin again, right? Simple. And we begin again without any recrimination or thought that we're doing it wrong or frustration, and that is continuing to be an edge for me, because I still sometimes go do it. That's all right. It's just my process right now. That may or may not change later. I'm working on noticing it. It's an opportunity for self-compassion, as all things are. The trick is to be able to relax into observing the process of all of it. Just to let it happen rather than try to force the mind into silence. Just let the process unfold as it is and observe. Watch. One of my favorite writers, Jeannie DePro, who I've read from in these sessions, I'm going to do this very ineloquently, once described her mind as a machine hurling down the road, careening left and right, tumbling up and down, going this way and that way, and she's being dragged along behind it. And the effect of meditation, I'll try to find that passage for next week or post it. The effect of meditation is the mind is still doing that, but she's no longer being dragged behind it. She's just observing. And of course, this is easier said than done, right? It was Sharon Salzberg who observed, as I repeated, that, the process of wander away, come back, wander away, come back, wander away, come back, get lost, wander away, come back, hasn't really changed that much, but her life has changed as a result of this practice. I couldn't find a kitchen implement yesterday. One of the reasons I know this is my house is because I'm looking for something, I can't find it. And my mind starts going off in like 40 different directions. It's, oh my God! It's like, but because I've been doing this practice, I noticed that. It's like, with a little bit of comedy. Because all that other energy is just energy, and it's optional. But we have to practice it. We have to work at it. And the work is what Gil Fronsdal refers to as the manual labor of meditation. And the work involves meeting ourselves here with kindness and with gentleness and with, oh, I'm okay, it's all good, and come back. It's not altogether unlike training a puppy to heel. Anybody here ever train a puppy? Successfully? Right? Right. You're training the puppy to heel, right? You're walking down the street with the puppy on the leash, the puppy wanders off, you pull it back. You wander off, pull it back, right? Gently, but firmly. You don't pull it back and scream at it and kick it and snarl at it. We save that for ourselves when our mind wanders off, right? But it's the same energy. The mind wanders off, the puppy mind wanders off. Gently, firmly, come back. So the dog doesn't run off and get run over, and our minds don't run off and get run over. So, all this points to the nature of practice and why they call it practice, and the nature of self-compassion, and the cultivation of the ability to be kind and gentle with whatever arises in the mind. Because the mind is a little chaotic. But we get to decide the degree to which we're going to participate in the chaos. And I'll tell you a little story about that, and then I will wrap up. I was probably 2 years ago, I can't remember, maybe then. I was on a beach on Lake Michigan. There's practically nobody there. It's like beautiful. Um, and my mind is like angry. I don't remember what it was that it fixated on that was angry about, but I'm noticing like there's all this angry chatter. And that's when I decided to name it. I named that part of my mind Herbert. After something out of Star Trek. I'm a Trekkie. By the way, from the Star Trek point of view, that steady liberation from emotion that the Vulcans are always talking about is a spiritual practice. It's not something that they just have. They practice. I named it Herbert because when they did a show making fun of the hippies, it wasn't "you're not cool," it's like "you're not Herbert." Right? John might know what I'm talking about. It dates both of us. So I named that part of my mind Herbert. And Herbert's pretty mellow right at this moment. Herbert was kind of angry and cranky yesterday. I don't know why. But it helps me step back and see that as a process, not as me. And sometimes we can ask the question, well, who's watching this anyway? Herbert isn't the one who's watching. Herbert is just the one who's like rolling around, right? One of these days I'll give a talk on Roberto Assagioli and the nature of subpersonalities, and if I can figure out how to do that without lapsing into like psychobabble. So I invite you to be kind and gentle to yourself. I invite you to recognize your thoughts as what they are, which are just ghosts and wisps of energy. I invite you to continue practicing. It's really good to be back. Thank you all for your kind attention. Does anybody have any comments or questions? Hi, Julie.
Thanks, Ken. Actually, I was going to say, in the past, I thought maybe my mind was the only one that worked that way, that was anxious and just flitting from thought to thought and couldn't sit still ever. And, yeah. I think it's really helpful to hear that everybody's mind is like that. Everybody's mind is like a wild horse bucking around. That it's very difficult to control
I'm stealing that, by the way.
When I saw people meditating in the past, I'd see movies or videos, or they'd always look so peaceful and so content and so perfect. I said, oh, well, that's meditation. Those people are perfect. They've got it figured out. They're at peace all the time. And when I started to meditate, I'm like, I'm not like that at all. So obviously I'm doing it wrong, or something's wrong with me. But I think it really helps to have you explain and to understand that that's the process. That's what it's supposed to be like. Then it makes me think, oh, maybe I'm doing it right after all.
Of course you are.
Wander off. I'm thinking about how to teach my students how to meditate, which maybe is a noble goal, but then I'm thinking about what if the parents protest and they say we don't want meditation in the schools. Then your mind starts to wander off on these directions, and like you said, you just have to bring it back to the breath, breathing sometimes, and focus on that train of thought.
I'm stealing
helps a lot.
I'm stealing the metaphor of the wild boar. You use that in a talk somewhere. It is true there is something wrong with you. Me too, and everybody else. And that's what's right about us. There's a really good video on that you can find on YouTube. I'll post it on the Facebook group called "Get Service," and the guy's like going through his life feeling totally inconvenienced, um, and he has this like awakening of noticing that everybody's got something going on. Everybody's got something going on. Everybody has a noisy mind. Um, yeah, isn't it cool? We're all in it together, right? We're all like doing this thing, and we all have this tendency to this sort of a cultural default of we're doing it wrong, and we see these monks. Gil Fonsdale, I meditate with him in the mornings on YouTube. If anybody looked at you while you were meditating, that's what they would see. They would see you sitting there being still. And then they'd say, well, she's doing this for like some period of years. She has it together. She's got it down. Look how still she is. While inside your head, it's romper room on steroids and Susan marching bands. And the greatest hits of the 70s. And that conversation you have to have at work 3 days from now. But from the outside looking in, you couldn't tell by looking at me on YouTube or Zoom this morning that I'm like mulling over this talk in my head while we're all meditating. And I'm like, oh, okay, this is just what my mind does. This is what my mind does on Sunday mornings.
Actually, I did open my eyes for a couple seconds and just watch you. I was like, oh, Ken's got it together. Look at that. He's so peaceful.
I'm not all that interesting. I mean, part of it was like, I saw a little jazz band in downtown New Albany yesterday, a little gypsy jazz band. This guy on guitar was really amazing. So part of some of my mind was doing that, and then I'm coming back and I'm wandering off. I'm coming back and I'm wandering off. But yeah, it's exactly what you're talking about. You looked at it and you saw. It's really important not to compare our insides to people's outsides, because we don't really know what's going on below the surface. So, and honestly, anyone who says they have this shit together is standing in it at the time. We're all kind of like massaging it. So, I would tell you that I really do know what I'm doing. I would be lying. Life is an improv. We make it up as we go along. Sometimes it comes out like a John Coltrane solo. Sometimes it comes out like the Captain and Tennille. That's the way it goes. Anything else?
Ken, I was already grateful for that puppy mind metaphor that you provided months and months ago when I was here. Now I want to give you a thanks for that Herbert metaphor from Star Trek. That's gold. I know exactly where you're coming from on that one, so I appreciate that. I'm also very grateful that this holiday has allowed me to be here, because I'm normally doing teacher training for yoga at this time, so I haven't been here for months and months. So it's good to be back here.
It's good to see you. The first thing Spock says to these people when he meets them is, "I am not Herbert."
Yeah.
And who put the tribbles in the quadritriticale and what was in the grain that killed them? I mean, somebody wrote that stuff. It was genius.
Right.
But if you want to continue with the Star Trek thing, the Voyager episodes where Tuvok is teaching Kes about meditation and mindfulness and those emotionless states that the Vulcans strive for. It's a practice. You don't get that in the original series. I know I'm going into Trek nerddom here. It's a practice. They practice it. because the mind wanders around. And for Vulcans, the mind wanders around to extreme states, which is why they practice this. And for us, the mind wanders around into extreme states. There was, someone shot a bunch of people in South Carolina, and they were marching in the streets in Louisville a year ago, and, extreme states. So, it's good to have you here, John. You can always watch these on the Facebook group or YouTube if you feel so inclined. It's good to see you.
And what's it under on YouTube?
If you search for me on YouTube, Ken Siegmann.
Oh, you cut out right. And I'm sorry.
And on Facebook, it's called the Insight Meditation Group.
And that's in the chat box.
Yeah, in the chat box. I put the link in the chat.
For the YouTube.
Yeah, for YouTube
Okay.
and for Facebook. So, we're coming up on 10 o'clock. I've not been able to get my electronic clock to register that it's daylight saving time, so it tells me 9 o'clock, and my mind says, boy, you really don't know how to do anything. Right? Because my mind defaults to some version of, you just can't do anything. I'll do a talk on like all of the defaults that we like pick up along the way, where those come from at some other point. So, thank you all for being here this morning. Good to see you.
Thank you, Ken.
Be kind to yourself.
Take care.